For today's session, we will speak about how to discover ProQuest Dissertation and Thesis Global, which is our largest collection for the electronic dissertations and thesis in the world. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Samantha Bennette. I'm also a training and consulting partner for Middle East and Africa, along with my colleague Anas Obayat, who gave the training of last week. So we'll get right straight into the session today. And if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to post those into the Q&A. So for today's session, we will speak about a few of the things that is important for you to know. And some of the objectives is for you to understand the importance of dissertation and thesis, basically meaning that as a source of relevant information, that it can support you in your academic work, but it can also be a guide to write a better dissertation, as well as helping you as a tool to avoid plagiarism. And then we will speak about how to apply best practices for locating content in PQDT, as well as to explore useful guidelines to stay up to date with your field of study. Some quick notes or a couple of terms that I will be using in the training session. As you may know, PQDT stands for ProQuest Dissertation and Thesis, and the global is there to make clear that we have dissertations from all over the world. And most of the time, I'm just going to refer to the product as PQDT by the initials, which makes it easier to do it. And also, when I say dissertations, I will be using the term as a shorthand for both dissertations, and a few of them are even household names, as I would call them. Let's move on. So these are most recent figures, and the size of the database with over 200,000 texts added annually, and roughly half of the total works in the database are available in full text. The database also offers full text for most of the dissertations added since 1997, and strong retrospective full text coverage for all the graduate works. Each dissertation since July of 1980 includes word abstract written by the author, and master's thesis published since 1988 include 150 word abstracts. Simple bibliographic citations are available for dissertations dating back from 1639, and where available, a 24-page previews of dissertations of theses are provided, especially for when you want to review or preview something before you purchase or buy a copy of that. The analysis in this screen you're seeing right now is based on the main subject index of text created earlier or sometime in this year, and basically it covers its across disciplines, so you can see what types of disciplines we are covering. Anything related from business to biological sciences, ecosystems, engineering, environmental sciences, even mathematical and physical sciences. So you can see the spectrum is quite broad. And the figures, both abstract and index information and full text records, and the analysis is based on the university location field as a filter. And I will share this with you during the live demonstration, how we proceed as we during the live presentation on how to do a filter only based on your institution, for example. So why is it important, or what is the importance of dissertation theses in academic research? And we get this question. So I can say there are many good reasons why the dissertations are valuable sources for academic research. And I want you to keep in mind that in order for a graduate, or in order to graduate, your dissertation or thesis must go through an extensive and rigorous review process, so they can be peer-reviewed literature by definition. And as if you are a researcher or a master's or doctorate student, you would know this because we all go through the process where our thesis and dissertations are being reviewed by our study leaders and even an external examiner in order for it before you can graduate. And on the screen, I'm just sharing some of the details of why I think it's important and why I think it's important, why we think that PQDT is such a valuable source. Okay, so now I'll go over to the online demonstration, but I should draw your attention. I have shared or I have made available some print screens of what I'm going to share during the live presentation with you. And once we go through the live presentation, I will share the slides with you in order for you to be able to view all of this detailed information as well. Okay, so my companions can type this in the chat. You would go to digitallibrary.edu.pk and you would go to your e-databases under useful links, for example, just and from there you can access ProQuest Resources. If I can just find it fast. ProQuest and Thesis on the right-hand side as the base resources, and you can access it from there. Right, so you could have access to the link from here directly by accessing HTTPS, and the link would be here to have access to ProQuest Dissertation. And this would access the ProQuest Dissertation and Thesis. And of course, because you are, and apologies, my cookies just remembers everything. Yours should say in here, Adventist, yours should say Higher Education Commission. I was doing a training earlier on at the institution, and I'm switching over to my demo account so I can go through the details to show you how to go about in finding ProQuest Dissertation and Thesis. So by now you should be able to log in, and as I'm sure you have posted the link in the chat as well, so that, or in the Q&A, so people can access or have access to follow through with myself while I'm doing the live demonstration. Okay, so where can we start? I want to draw your attention to things before we start hitting into the searching and the details. Of course, you would see here that access is provided through HEC. In my case, I'm using my demo account to make it easier for myself for authentication purposes, because the moment I'm not in your region, it will make it more difficult for me to stay connected right now into your account, because it's IP authenticated or regional authenticated. What are these? What does all of these icons? On this right-hand side here, I will start on the far right-hand side. At any point in time, if you forget anything that I'm saying today, it's important to know that there's always help and support. And then we also have the LibGuide, which Anas will post shortly in the chat, so that you can access, or in the Q&A rather, where you can access all the related information related to help and support. This little icon, the human, is where you can see all your research and select your language information, as well as you could have access to your research account from here, and you can either sign into your research account, and if you don't have a research account yet, you can create yourself a research account right now by simply clicking on Create My Research Account and filling out the necessary detail related to the research account. So basically what we're asking of you is just to add some email address, confirm a password, and then you have to tick these two boxes to ensure that you have access. And you may ask me, why do I have to create a research account? As a researcher, from my own experience, it's important that I create me a personalized account where I can manipulate information or add data related to my research, and I can always go back to it. It also allows me to go back to any of the previous searches I've done. And during this presentation, I'll share with you how to save some of the searches, but also how to go about in adding information into your research account, or adding details or articles or dissertations into your research account. Okay, and then this clock here on the right is just a basic preview of all the recent searches that you've done. And once you log off, it will remove them unless you saved it. So it's based on the session. And then the cart is when you want to purchase any of the dissertations, which is sometimes very in particular if you need to have access to any of those. Then in the center pane, you would see the basic search, and I'll share with you now in a little while how to do a basic search. And then we can do an advanced search, and we'll speak about the browse and the about options. And at any point in time, since you have quite a number of ProQuest databases, you can change access to any of the databases which you have. But for now, we prefer to stick to the ProQuest dissertation and thesis information. A little bit of more information in the bottom part here, where you can see what PQDT is about. And then on furthermore down, you can see which subjects are being covered here. And then, of course, we explain a little bit about where PQDT are. And then here's some tips which you can access on the help, as well as how answers to common questions about any of the ProQuest products, our support center as well. And we also provide some search tips in the bottom part, which is always important for you to look after. Now back to the search box. The search box provides some access like a Google type of search, and you can simply just type any search in, and you can decide whether you want to see only full text or if you want to only see doctoral dissertations for this matter. So I'm going to do a search on microbiology, for example. I know we had a conversation or one of these requests in a previous training session of last week. So I'm going to just do a search on microbiology and hit the search button. Provided with quite a number of results, so over 176,000 of results. And on the left-hand side, I can do some relevant searching by selecting that I want to see the oldest or the most recent information first. I could also decide that I only want to see text, but I can also decide whether which publication year I want to see. Furthermore, you can do some searches by subject or the index term, or you could even just select the institution that you want to see where this particular research is coming from. You could also decide that you want to see the institution's location, for example, and from here you can decide, just simply click at any of these, and I'm going to choose, for example, the University of Toronto in Canada, and you will see that the information filter will drill down to at least less than 4,704. And then I want to see, for example, how much of these are only doctoral or doctoral dissertations. I simply click on those and I hit a search again so that it can filter it further down. Right, so now it's about less than 2,411 results. Before we go into this is still too much results. As a researcher, you want to drill down to very specific information. I'm going to hit the advanced search button, and by simply clicking on the advanced search button on the left corner, I'm going to retype my search, and I want to see that I am going to do a search on microbiology, but I want to see it only in the title, for example. And then I want information related to bacteria, and it will sometimes help if one can spell correctly. And at any point in time, if your search offers too much result, you can add another row, and you can add more of the terms which you want to see. But in my case, I do not want to do that. And I want to see information related to the last 10 years, for example, and I just simply can click the search button. But before I do that, there's another option that I can do as well. I can follow the university or the institution by simply clicking on Look Up Universities in here. And if you click on Look Up Universities, you can find any university related to your institution. And for example, you can click on Pakistan and find any institution related to Pakistan, and you can see which dissertations or theses are published based on your related institution. Right. Furthermore, you can do some lookups on subject headings or some index terms or keywords if you are quite familiar on any of these information. You could also do a specific search only based on master's thesis or doctoral studies. And very often, if you know exactly what you're looking for, and if you've come across any of those, you can select the language just so that you can be aware of this. So now I'm going to hit the search button. And while it runs, we will speak a little bit more about this. So from here, you can see I have more refined search results, which are now 60. And I guess 60 is what I can work with as a researcher. Let's say, for example, I want to only see the most recent years instead of 10 years. So I can even filter it down to the last 3 years and just click on the update button, and it will update my search results to 12. So 12 is a number that I can work with. I can scan through all of these and read these and see if I can find related information. I want to draw attention to what you see on your search results. You would see that the title of the dissertation is interactive, and you could also see that the abstract information of this dissertation is interactive as well. So I can simply click on the abstract from here, and it would open up the abstract details. You see a number of things. So now I'm in the HTML part of the abstract. And from here, if I want to read something and it doesn't appeal to me as a language that I'm okay with, I can simply choose to change it to the language so that I can understand if the terminology and everything is correct according to my language that I'm used to. So I can simply click on the abstract details and click on translate and select the language that I want to. So now I can read it in a language that is appealing to myself, and I can read and understand it based on that. Right. Also preview the PDF by clicking on preview PDF information, and you can have a preview of the PDF. Remember, I said that you can preview about 24 pages of the dissertation, and you can see from here the section here that it says 1 to 24. So this is basically just a preview of what the dissertation is about. And of course, we have copyright to the dissertation, and ProQuest add its copyright details in here. Now I would like to access the text of the PDF by simply clicking on the full text of the PDF. And as it opens up, you will see that I can do some very cool functions with it. I can bookmark this. Alternatively, I can download the full PDF. To those in a bit. So now I have access to the full PDF because you have access to the full subscription of it. You can download it directly from here by simply download, or alternatively, you can print it directly from here, or you could add some bookmarks to the abstract, for example, or to public abstracts, or anywhere. If I want to add a bookmark to the introduction, I could just simply do that and click on the bookmark details of it. Right. Before we start downloading or add any of the information to our personal research, you can decide that you want to cite this. So I can click on the citation icon here, and if my institution follows APA 7, and I think I click APA 6 for that matter, if I click on APA 7, I can just copy and paste the citation. Alternatively, you have access to RefWorks, which we will discuss next week, and I will share with you and show you how exactly to go about in exporting any of the references from any of the ProQuest platforms, or for that matter, any other platform, into RefWorks directly by clicking onto RefWorks and exporting that into RefWorks. Or if you have any other citation tool, you can easily do that. Right, let's move on. From here, you could also email the article or to your friend or your colleague if you are working together on a article or a specific. You can simply just type in your email details, and you can decide whether you want to include the bibliographic citation at the end. You can enter your name and simply just type a message to your friend and hit the continue button in order to email it. You may wonder what this all options button mean. Let's find out. So for these 3 dots, you can see that all the other details are related in here. I can now save this to my research because I'm very much interested in this article. So I can simply click on save to my research. And because I have already created me an account, the system will automatically remember my login credentials and it will log me into my research account. So now I can simply just sign in and it will save this particular article into my research details. Very often the internet doesn't go that fast, so my apologies if it's a bit slow. And right, let's go back to my research. So I'm going to click on my saved document because I've already saved this particular document. By simply clicking on my saved documents, that it did not save the document. So my apologies. Let's go back to PQDT database. And just to show you, if you ever get to a point where you have access to all of the resources for ProQuest, you can simply just come here, and if you want to search for a very particular database, I'm going to click on ProQuest Dissertation, Thesis, and Global, and it will remember my last searches. So I can just simply click on recent searches, and it will remember my last searches, and I'm just going to click on this so that it can open it up again. This article that we've opened up. Okay, technology always happens. So I'm going to do this again. All options by clicking on the 3 dots again. I can simply just hit the save to my research and it will save to my research. Alternatively, I can decide what folder I want to add this by simply clicking on create a new folder. It's important to keep track of your folders and your information as you go along with research. In my case, I'm going to just call it microbiology and then create a new folder, and I click on the save button. So now I have a new folder called microbiology. Why do we create new folders? So when I do, like myself, if I, for example, do a number of research, you can go to your documents and see what other files or folders you have underneath your saved research. And you can see, for example, all the documents that I've added and saved into my particular research. I also want to draw your attention to this. You can see from here, or from that I have done quite a number of searches, and it sort of keeps track of my searches of what I have saved. And I'll show you this in a little bit. So let's go back one space, back to our article. And back to all options. Okay, so from here, you could also do any of the articles to your Google Drive, or do some cloud saving through a Google Classroom, or alternatively, you could use Microsoft OneDrive to save information. And then I explain the citation export, and then there's some other options of exporting it into PDF, XLS file, or RTF or TXT file. Let's move on. Now, download, for example, you can do a download and you can keep the information related to any of your on your desktop, or alternatively, if I go to my research, I can just simply do keep it there in my phone. I want to go back to my saved searches by just going one back. Let's see, maybe I should just do back to results by simply clicking on the back to results. Okay, so from here, this is a very intriguing search that I've done. And I think as a researcher, I want to keep this. So I can simply click on Save Search by saving the search. And I'm going to call this microbiology. And at any point in time, I can add a note that I've added any related information to bacteria, and I can click Save. So now in my Save Search options, this information is available, and it will remember my Save Search options all the time. Alternatively, I can create an alert instead of saving the search. so that this alert can pop up every time that the latest information or any information related to my research is posted all the time. I will receive an alert that will come to myself, and you can enter your email address, for example, and you can even include some details of the alert, and you can say that I want to see this at least every 2 months. They can stop after 2 months, or you want to send and schedule the alert weekly, or whatever the case may be, and then you simply click create alert. So you would create alerts and share information or save the searches in that for that matter. Now let's move on. If I click on the browse button, it'll open up some very informative information, and I can browse by subject, for example. And if you want to go to browse by microbiology, you would probably click on the letter M, and you can go down and search or browse anything related to microbiology, and it would probably be right down in the bottom. Let's see if I can, yes, here we go. So from here, you can see that you can simply click on microbiology, or you could just hit the view documents button from here, and it will open up all the details related to microbiology, and you can see there's about 66,000 plus dissertations and theses related to microbiology. And you can from here see exactly where the locations are, where people has published any of these. But the platform is very intuitive, and we have built in here a browse by location option, where you can simply click browse by location. And let's use your country as an example by simply clicking on P, and we can view all the locations related to Pakistan that was published or available on the platform by Pakistan, for example, right? Okay, then we can about the about. So any related information that you wish to see about information, you can simply just click on about ProQuest, and you will find any information related to us. And there's information related to the subject coverage, as well as information related to the organization itself. Back to the screen functionality. On the right-hand side, we have some search tips, and you can simply click on the search tips, and it will open up in a new table or a new tab where you can see some search tips. And I want to draw your attention to the search syntax and field codes in order for you to understand what those mean. You can read through these simply clicking on the details of it, and we provide you some information and interpretation of what the fields mean in search boxes of the advanced search, in order for you to be able to see and review and do a more advanced search. And this is in particular for our doctoral students or professors or who are doing more advanced searches. You will find this type of searching very useful for yourself. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. However, I would like to share with you some important information on your LibGuides, which you have access to. And there's a LibGuide which Anas will post in the Q&A, where you can access all the related information to your access resources, where we have access to any of the ProQuest resources from here. Any information related to the frequently asked questions, you can access through here about the content, access information, any information related to training, as well as our certificates and any support that we provide to you. And then also we have added, Anas has added all the previous HEC trainings, where you can access all previous trainings, recordings for your benefit. And then further on in the LibGuide, there's some information related to upcoming trainings, where you can access it from here. And then in the center pane here, you can see all the resources that you have access to. And today we've covered PKDT, and Anna's covered ProQuest Business Premium last week. If you missed that session, you're more than welcome to view the recording in the previous session. You do not have access to ProQuest ebooks right now. However, next week I will be doing the RefWorks training, and the weeks following, Anna's will do some more training to support you. Any questions, Anna, you would want me to address, or any related questions that you think we should, information that I should go over again to rediscuss with anyone?
Thank you, Samantha. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone who shared some questions. Just like a lot of people, they said they cannot hear well. We are really sorry for that. Unfortunately, maybe this is out of our control. The internet sometimes is really bad. But in all cases, this training is recorded, and we will share the recording with every single one of you, inshallah, within 1 week. I received a few questions, Samantha. So there is like one question. Some people, they said how they can access. So if you can provide them, tell them exactly how they can access from the ProQuest LibGuide page and also from the HEC digital library page. This will be awesome. So can you please tell them and show them how to access?
Okay, thank you, Anas, for that. So I will show you how to access. So when you type in this link, which Anas will share in the Q&A again, you can simply type in that link. And from here, in the access link, you can simply click on ProQuest Dissertation and Thesis and access it from here by clicking on any of the resources from here. The second part of access is where you would type in, and you would simply type in digitallibrary.edu.p. Here you can go to electronic databases. Opens up. In our case, we spoke about ProQuest Dissertation and Thesis. You can simply just click on ProQuest Dissertation and Thesis. So there are two access points on how you can access your electronic resources right now. Over to you, Anas. Another question?
Thank you very much, Samantha. Just to mention, access is only limited to people in Pakistan only. So basically, if you are located outside Pakistan, if you try to access, unfortunately, you will not be able to access because it is limited to only people in Pakistan under HEC. If you face this page where it asks you to log in, this means that you didn't follow the right steps. It is even from HEC Digital Library page or from ProQuest Resources HEC page, as mentioned by Samantha. This is number one. Another thing is one doctor is asking, sometimes you will be asked to pay money to download the PDF. So can you explain this? Okay. You know, order copy option in some dissertation and thesis. If you want, I can answer this.
Yes, Anas.
Okay, so basically what you have access here is, as mentioned by Samantha, more than 2.7 million full text dissertations and theses, okay? So what we provide you is a PDF format of that dissertation and thesis. In case you need the printed copy from the original publisher, you need to pay for it. Of course, this is not required. You have already the electronic version of that dissertation and thesis, so no need to go and pay it. This is just an optional kind of thing if you prefer to have a printed copy from the author. Rather than that, what you have here, you can access the full text, you can download the full PDF of that dissertation or thesis without any problem. Another question came, Samantha, is about Turnitin. Dr. Kashif, he asked, is there any software available other than Turnitin? I know that this is not our scope, but if you can just say anything about this question.
Yes, there is actually, and what we can do is, Anas, can we take the doctor's email address details down, and I can respond to him by sharing a direct link to some free source or open source plagiarism checker tool. Or alternatively, doctor can send an email to trade@proquest.com and I will pick it up from there to respond to you if you don't mind. Anas, did you
Thank
hear
you
me?
very much, Samantha.
Okay.
Yes. So basically, if you have any question like this, please send it to training@proquest.com, and we will pick it from there and answer your question without any problem. I'm just like, because mashallah, there is a lot of questions. Sorry if I couldn't answer them all, but there is also some question about how can we link my research with RefWorks. Honestly speaking, the RefWorks version, what we have it here, is the legacy one. It is not what you have. So my recommendation is when you create a My Research account, do not click on link your RefWorks with your My Research account. This is our recommendation, because in this case, you will link with the legacy version of RefWorks, which is not the right one that HEC is using. Okay, another thing, I can see some questions about the access. As we mentioned, you should follow the steps, which was mentioned by Samantha, even by going to the HEC Digital Library page or ProQuest Resources Guide page and follow the steps. Some questions related to certificate. Again, hopefully we will send the certificate to all people attended the session by 1 week. After 1 week, you will get a certificate. You will get the recording of this session plus the slides Samantha used. Okay, this is also for you. There is a question, Samantha, about the who is monitoring this database and how you can, like, who's adding content to this database, if you can answer this question.
Okay, so as I've shared in the slides, ProQuest and the ProQuest slides before I showed the live demonstration, we as ProQuest have agreements with hundreds of universities to add their dissertations and theses with us. So we sign agreements with universities and their students, professors, doctoral students add their content in here. So this means that it's global. And if I can go back to the slide where I share that particular information, I can do that right now. So in order for you to see from where these are coming from. So right here, and you can see that these are all the, or per country, these institutions do add their dissertations and thesis to ProQuest. We have with most of the universities in these countries to add their details in here. And as we speak, over 200,000 dissertations and theses are added annually to the platform.
Thank you, Samantha. It's also worth mentioning that we usually sign agreements with universities, and the universities will have access to our database, to the admin part of it, and they will upload their own dissertations and theses by themselves. So basically, if you are searching for your own university and you couldn't find it there, so most probably we don't have an agreement with them. So you can speak to them and we can have an agreement, because basically adding dissertations and theses is free of charge. It just requires an agreement between ProQuest and the university, and by that they can add their own dissertations and theses to our database. So if you are searching, again, because I saw this question a couple of times, if you are searching for your own university and couldn't find any dissertations or theses, this means that we don't have agreement with it. Okay. Again, I can see a few questions about access. As I mentioned, access is only available in Pakistan, and you should follow one of the two ways Samantha mentioned. Even go to HEC Digital Library, click on e-databases, and then you'll find ProQuest Dissertation and Theses under Base Resources. Click on the link, and you should have access with no issues. Or you can go to our ProQuest Resources Guide, and if you are in Pakistan, click on ProQuest Dissertations and Theses link under access links, and you should have access with no issues. And again, there's some questions and some issues with the voice. We are really sorry for that. In all cases, this session is recorded, and we will send and share the recording with every single one of you. There is also a question about books. So if you can mention that this database doesn't have any books, please. Samantha.
Okay, so the PQDT do not have access to any books details. because it's for dissertations and theses, so there is no access to books from this particular database. I also see a question about plagiarism and why plagiarism is less than 19%. This is the agreeable amount, which is the global standard for all institutions or all universities or higher education institutions, that there shouldn't be there should be no plagiarism, at least 19%, and that is what is agreed on. I honestly do not know what the logic is behind the 19%, but I'm quite certain you wouldn't want someone to just take your work and publish it on your behalf, so it's advisable to not plagiarize. And as there's a question on how we can submit our thesis in this repository, as Anas explained earlier on, your institution needs to have an agreement with ProQuest in order for you to be able to submit your details in here. And if it's something that you are interested in, please do submit a request to your research department in your institution or your library, and then contact us to be able to have your institution have agreement with us.
I can see that some problems. Some people are saying that they cannot access. Again, if you have any problem with accessing, please feel free to send us an email, because honestly speaking, we need just to follow up and see exactly what is the problem is. But if you just followed what Samantha mentioned, coming from HEC Digital Library or ProQuest Resources guide page, you should not have any problem. If you still have problems, send us an email on training@proquest.com, and we will investigate and even maybe cascade the case to our support team.
Okay, and has any other questions that you think that is there for me to respond to?
There is some questions on the certificates. So just to let you know that we are now doing 6 training sessions during November and December. When you attend a training session, you will receive a certificate within 1 week. Okay, so today's sessions, you're supposed to receive, inshallah, maximum by next week. You will receive your certificate of attendance, link to the recording, and the slides. Okay, you can go always to ProQuest Resources guide page, and you can just go to the frequently asked questions at any time. We listed here all the information you need to know. So if you can just go please to the fact page, yes, here. So here, all the questions about the access, about the training, about the certificates. Also, it's worth mentioning that we have a local support in Pakistan. If you just click on support, Samantha. So in Pakistan, we have A&J Dev Tech Consultants. You can speak to Mr. Javed Ishaq, and you can contact him, and hopefully he will be able to answer all your questions, anything related to support. They are based in Pakistan. Okay, so I think this is it, Samantha, from my side. I can see that most questions were answered. And again, please, if you have any question, or if your question, we didn't answer a question, please accept our apology, because we have almost 400 people attending today. So, and hundreds of questions came via chat. So please just send us an email on training@proquest.com, and we'll be able to answer your question. Back to you, Samantha.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. You've been a great audience. I do appreciate that you've taken the time to come and listen to us. And as Anna said, if we did miss your question, just to reiterate that, please do send an email to training@proquest.com, and we would be more than happy to support you on this. Also, if you have any additional questions related to certificates, recordings, as well as the slides, please note that we will post it at least 1 week after. So next week, by Monday, it should be available on the site. And I look forward to seeing you all at the RefWorks training next week, same time, same place. So thank you very much, everyone, for attending. All the best.
Thank you, Samantha. Thank you, everyone. And inshallah, see you again next week. Assalamu alaikum.
Okay, just one last thing from my side. There's a pop up after I end the call. If you could please rate our services in order for us to improve or provide better services to you, please do fill that survey in for us. So thank you, everyone.